Okay, rulers, settle down. Ruler School is brought to you by Odyssey Games, where you can go to get pre-orders of all the upcoming Force of Will sets, as well as releases of previous sets after they come out. CCGprime.com, with over 100,000 Force of Will singles, as well as out-of-print boxes from the past, and TCG accessories, as well as FowlLibrary.com, a wonderful resource for deck lists, article discussions, and more. Check them out at FowlLibrary.com, as well as these amazing patrons. Special thanks to guest lecturer patrons Shukong Fu, Vite Ramen, and Maxime Van He. Thank you for your support. Class is in session. Hey there, rulers, DMO73 here, bringing you another feature match for the week. We are now officially in Wanderer format, so that means we're going to be doing some fun stuff, trying to look at older decks, older rulers, and kind of see what they look like in the nowadays. So what we are going to be starting with here today is a Mikage Stone Hate list versus Wanderer Deus version of Deus Ex, the Order ruler from Robert. Robert getting some nice little, trying to get some nice little revenge from when I took a bunch of Tidor deck out extra turns against him, so we'll see exactly how that goes. Obviously, the Mikage Stone Hate deck is going to be using a lot of essentially trying to see how do I say this? Make use of some of the reanimate stuff and some of the stone ramp stuff and some of the early seal stuff that we've seen kind of in the world to be able to try and force your opponent to not be able to play the game by keeping them at so few stones in on field that they just can't play cards, and you're just continuing to ramp ahead thanks to the fact that Mikage is a guaranteed sack outlet literally every single turn. So there's some good advantage that can come out of that, which you'll see as we get into it. So doing some mulligans here. First turn we just see a water stone. Call stone, black silence. Finally getting to make use of the dual stones again. Out comes Layla, Maiden of the Swamp. Layla, Maiden of the Swamp says when she is sent from the field to the graveyard by the effect of something like Mikage, or by any other means, I get to go search my stone deck for a Darkness Magic Stone and put it into the field. This is great because it means that I just ramp ahead immediately, and Mikage you can do this thing where it like can target itself, the thing that it's like trying to sacrifice, and so you just get this free Layla stack to get another stone, draw a card, and I even got a stone to be able to play another Layla. So even moving even further ahead as we get through it. Seeing an order up of a Guinevere, so this is going to certainly lock me out of being able to do things at all during Robert's turn. Doesn't look like he actually casts the top card of his deck there. Looks like it wasn't anything that he could grab with the Guinevere being able to cheat something into play. Just a little bit unfortunate missed value there. Going to swing in with 0 for the Layla, and then go ahead and do the sacrifice again. And we're doing this before we call stone, because we're only playing a few Darkness Magic Stones in this deck. So the idea being that we want to set this up to be as much of a chance as possible that our stone call is going to be hit a dual stone or a special stone, and get these Dark Magic Stones out of the way early. Playing a Mikage Rhea, an old favorite, coming back here. This is a big important card of the deck to be able to get the cards we need to the graveyard to be able to reanimate them, because we are certainly doing reanimates in this deck for sure. Mikage Rhea sending that Athenia to the graveyard. We do call stone, seeing a Magic Stone of Heaven's Rift. Then another new piece that is coming into play off of the Wanderer format here is the Origin of the Seven Lands. It's being used to have other decks be able to reveal cards from outside the game to get amazing effects like this Drywing here. Produces us 1 green and recovers that basic Magic Stone from Drywing's effect, which essentially lets us use 1 stone to be able to use part of True Power to be able to sacrifice that Mikage Rhea and grab the Athenia back. So a very, very efficient way for us to be able to get the Athenia, which is very, very nice. The Athenia, we're going to get the Rhea to get to come back to our hand. We get to reanimate the Athenia, and then we get to do all kinds of gross stuff by sacrificing the Mikage later to Athenia, or the Athenia later to Mikage, or using other banish effects to be able to use its discard effects. So the way Athenia works is, when it comes into the field, my opponent has to banish a Resonator. If they can't banish a Resonator, they have to banish a stone. So he has to banish a blue stone here, gonna float some blue will in response, of course. And then if we have some way to be able to banish the Athenia while he just has a J-Ruler on field, he'll have to banish a non-J-Ruler entity, which at that point in time would be his other Magic Stone, because that's the only other thing he has. So you can see a little bit about exactly how this deck operates to try to force your opponent to just have so few more resources than you, especially since you're ramping up with things like Layla, and also opens up gross little interactions with things like Black Witch being at Seal 5 very quickly, all kinds of mean things that way. So we do see a Dark Alice Rabbit Princess coming in here, very clearly trying to set up to sacrifice the Athenia and rip that other stone away from him. The question is, will we be allowed to do it? We see a Lancelot come down here, very smart way in response to the Dark Alice effect to put that Athenia back on the bottom of my deck, so I have no way to sacrifice it. Also gets it out of the way so I can't reanimate it later, so ultimately a pretty good call there. Dark Alice does still get to resolve though, and we did have another Athenia in hand, so at least we're a little bit safe from being able to worry about that for right now. So we do have a way to be able to reanimate again, should we need it. Sacrificing the Dark Alice to itself there. Or no, sorry, just having pitched another Dark Alice after discarding the Athenia. Don't really need to at this point. What is Robert going to do with 2 stones here? Deus Ex enters the Game of Gods, an ultimate little tool here. Not only is he going to get to search, probably for another Lancelot, I would imagine, to be able to deal with another Athenia should she come down here, but also being able to pop the Dark Alice. Very, very nice. Problem is, we know part of True Power has Remnant, and we have Drywing. We know we have Origins of the 7 lands, so we're going to be able to turn a Darkness Magic Stone by itself into the will for part of True Power, which is also a really just neat interaction there. Which, again, Robert's only working on 1 will, and we are working on a lot of will. So down comes that pre-recovery Mikage Rhea, which sets us up really nicely again for that part of True Power. We can dump another one into the graveyard, so now we have, I think, 2 part of True Powers and an Athenia, so we can start doing some pretty gross things. If we had another Athenia to be able to get into the graveyard, we could, like, Athenia loop using part of True Power and Mikage, which would be really, really gross, but we don't have that right at this moment. So we're going to cast a Layla here, and then use the other basic Darkness Magic Stone with the Origin of the 7 lands, again, to be able to flash out a Drywing, produce a green, recover that Darkness Magic Stone. And you can see here, like, the amounts of value we're generating just from, like, the Layla sacrifice route to be able to use part of True Power, sacrifice Layla. Layla gets to go get us another Darkness Magic Stone. We can still call Stone with Mikage. We'll be at 6 stones here, to our opponent's 1, And we still have a way to be able to force him to get rid of his other stone with the Athenia, because we haven't used the Mikage sacrifice yet, which is instant speed and banishes the Athenia as cost. So we will be sitting at 6 stones to our opponent's 0 going into his turn, which is just absolutely backbreaking. Rhea going to swing in for 4. Seems like I had cast that at the end of his turn to be able to swing. Go up to 4,400. And then banishing the Athenian, like I said, to that Mikage, gets me another card in hand, immediately forces him to sacrifice his another stone. He's down to just 1 blue. He's going to go ahead and use that blue, might as well, to get that Rhea off the field, just so we don't have another part of True Power activation. Truth be told, we could have, after all that resolved, the sacrifice resolved before we passed turn, used part of True Power to banish the Rhea to reanimate the Athenia again. But at that point in time, there was no other stone to hit. It wouldn't hit the Guinevere, and we'd risk that Lancelot bouncing the Athenia, since we knew it was there. So it actually makes more sense for us to just say, you know what, no, we're just going to pass the turn, leave the Athenia, set things up to just move on from there. He does go, we pass turn there, he calls stone, passes back to us, doesn't even decide to swing to set him up for anything else like that. Before recovery, we're going to go ahead and do Fallen Angel of Black Tears, which gets the Guinevere off the board, sets us up so we don't have to deal with another Lancelot. And then we're going to go ahead and flash in Black Witch and Green Witch here, and subsequently get Green Witch off of the enter effect, which is essentially just to give us a free body to be able to sacrifice to part of True Power to get that Athenia back once again, so that we get rid of that last stone. Literally say, I'm at 6 stones, you're at 0. What happens there? And at that point in time, what happens there is that Robert concedes. There's no way for him to keep up at that point. There's no point even playing the game at that point. So just to save time, he concedes and we go to game 2. So round 1 really just showing exactly what happens if the deck gets that advantage. Using the Mikage to sacrifice the Layla to part of True Power as well as to itself, having that free generated stone value, especially with things also playing like Origin of the 7 Lands with Drywing. Essentially the deck is eating your opponent's stones to make your own, and you just create this big value swing where you just get to cast cards while your opponent doesn't. It doesn't always work, and obviously it plays into things that are common in the format, such as Horn of the Sacred Beast or other graveyard effects. That's why we play the Dark Alice, to be able to protect it. It unfortunately doesn't help a ton against Horn of the Sacred Beast, which is pretty common in Wanderer, but at least it is an option there to be able to protect it from some of the effects. Obviously, Robert hoping to not have to lose his stones as much, so we'll see if he pivots his strategy to be able to play in against the Athenia a little bit better. We do see a first turn stone call, Adaractia's Memoria, which is a green-blue-white stone here. With the Order Rulers, the way it works, just to kind of keep in mind, is that when they're on their ruler side, Adaractia's Memoria is a 3-color stone, but as soon as you order, Adaractia's Memoria will just be the color of the card that you're ordered, because it matches your J ruler. This is actually a really good strat here. I think at the opening turns, hitting the mass-produced knights. This is an easy way for him to get a lot of bodies out onto the board very quickly, and the more resonators he has on board, the harder it is for me to get to his stones, and the longer he can keep playing the game. You saw that on my end. I wasn't really doing a lot of like huge plays. It was just these stick out a body, you know, very kind of 1-2 punch kind of thing. So I don't have a lot of real complicated combo stuff. It's just trying to going after the stones. So if he can keep his stones alive, then that gives him a lot more ways to be able to react. I mean, I don't have stuff with swiftness. I'm not discarding his hand. He has a lot of ways to be able to play through, provided he keeps his stones and resources alive. So I imagine we might see another mass-produced Knights come down here. He's got him in hand. He does have that Magic Stone. He does have that Deus Ex enters the Game of Gods, which is a nice little spot removal tool. You do see he has a Lancelot. It's a little bit surprising we didn't see an ordered there, but maybe there's just not a good one drop to order. Something like a Guinevere actually that hits a machine off the top would be great, because it gets you the Guinevere to protect yourself during your turn, as well as another immediate body, all for one, and then you can still call stone, and it sets up the Lancelot and all kinds of other things. So that would have been great to see. Ultimately, it seems like mass-produced Knights is just going to be the name of the game for right now, which I don't hate right now. Because especially since all of my guys have swiftness, it doesn't matter how small his guys are, they just are there to be cannon fodder, which is kind of, ironically, the design of the card is just designed to be cannon fodder. Are we going to see a third one cast here? Because he doesn't have a order out, so Lancelot's pretty dead. If his only removal spell in hand is that Deus Ex enters the Game of Gods, I wouldn't be surprised if we just saw the mass-produced Knights like you saw here. He has the one will for interaction. His hand's already pretty flooded. This makes a lot of sense. Down comes the Dark Alice Rabbit Princess here. Going to help us to set up the grave as well as protect it. We discard a Garion. And a Part of True Power. Still before recovery, we're also going to use a Fallen Angel of Black Tears to kill the one of the mass-produced Knights, saying, look, I need to draw into some better cards. Clearly my hand's not super great. I also need to keep your bodies off board just in case I do happen to get into that Athenia. So we use Moonshade producing Void to use Origins to produce black or green, and then use the green Blackstone to get the black. So we use Part of True Power, and at this point in time, we're actually going to reanimate the Garion. The reasoning being here is, look, I can't go after your stones. You're trying to play 1-drops to fill your board so that Athenia doesn't hurt you later. We're going to go ahead and make it so that you just can't play 1-drops. You can't flood the board to protect yourself. You're going to have to commit to heavier cards, especially since you don't have an ordered card right now, and it seems like there's not a one, we're pretty starved for an order right now, let alone a cheap one. Going for the Garion to lock out your playline so I have a little bit more breathing room on my end to be able to set up some of my reanimate stuff makes more sense here. Tries to go for the Lancelot, doesn't control the J ruler, so we're safe from that at least for now. So we're going to go ahead and get in for that 15. Have those mass-produced Knights, one of them not recovered for some reason. Down comes a Dolorious. Dolorious is certainly a way to be able to get the Garion off board because of its mode to be able to put target entity or target resonator on the bottom of its owner's deck. So we can once again get that Garion out of the way and keep it out of the graveyard so that I can't just keep bringing it back again and again, since we know that there's that Part of True Power in graveyard. This is obviously a really nice line. Going to have to get a little bit creative here using that Keep the Faith in a way we didn't really want. We want to keep those for Layla's typically to ramp even further, but using it to get back the Dark Alice Rabbit Princess so we can at least have another body on board to be able to re-sacrifice to Garion next turn, as well as just get the Garion off board so it goes to grave instead of going to the bottom of the deck. And then we also see that Athenia. Problem is now, though, is that is a very crewable Dolorious. He has a mass-produced Knights that he can use, technically, too. Just forgot to recover one of them, I guess. Comes a 2,000 and can swing in. And we're going to take it. We're going to take the 2,000 damage here because we need the Dark Alice to be able to potentially banish it to reanimate. We're in an important spot there. Origins of the 7 lands here to produce green. Do have that part of true power here. Gonna use Layla cast here with the stone. Gonna banish the Layla to give Dark Alice the extra will here. Gets us a Darkness Magic Stone, which we will be able to use for part of true power. And the reason why I'm going for this Dark Alice line is, 1, again, it's more draw power. 2, we can use it to get rid of a mass-produced knight because now Dark Alice has 400 attack. So gets a body off board so that there's one less thing for him to be able to crew with. And since we have the Athenia on board, we're probably going to reanimate the Athenia, force him to manage the other mass-produced knight. And we're really just trying to set it up so that we have will to be able to interact. He only has Dolorius on field, and we end with an Athenia, so that we can get to a point of being able to keep that Dolorius uncrewed. That is the biggest piece here, especially if he's gonna try to give it flying or something like that with Guinevere. We need to be able to respond to force him to banish it off the field somehow, or prevent the damage from it or something, while we have the opportunity. And the nice thing is for us is if he chooses to go into an ordered Titor or an ordered Guinevere, it can't be used to crew. To crew the Dolorius, you have to use a Resonator for Dolorius. Part of true power getting back the Athenia here. Athenia is going to force him to banish the mass-produced knight, so we got that off board. Once again, we're a little bit in the clear. Athenia does have that ability to give a -2 to his board. It's not super relevant. If we can keep the Athenia on field for the turn, then we might, see a tap before recovery, -2, recover, tap again, -4 to clear the board. But that's based on what he might be casting here. And it seems like with coins still in hand, we are going to see Titor. Titor coming down here to try to give him an extra turn. He does have the 1 extra will to be able to play for it. Gotta put the Titor on field here first. Reading exactly how it works, because he will be a machine. We'll also be able to call stone, which is nice because he'll have access to Lancelot. Does have 1 blue to be able to pay into it here, so that we respond by going ahead and taking use of the fact that we have so many stones. We're going to flash in Witch of the Fallen Kingdom. Mine is the promo version that you're seeing on screen, and that's going to be able to use its seal ability to get us Witch with a Pointy Hat. Witch with a Pointy Hat will be able to cancel the enter ability, or the automatic ability of Titor, so we are safe from having to worry about an extra turn. He does still get to call stone. He does still get to keep the 1 blue, because from his coin, he doesn't have to use the coin yet, because again, it happens at resolution. And now he gets even more resources, and he's also made me burn some resources too. The question with extra turns here for Titor is we haven't seen a lot of draw power out of Robert's deck, so it becomes what exactly is he going to do with an extra turn if he gets to take it, which he's certainly going to try to take another one. We see a Knight of Knights here, using that stone to try to re-trigger the Titor enter effect so that he can take another turn, because he still has the blue from Energize that he could use if he wants to. And at this point in time, I don't think I have another Black Witch in hand to be able to try to stop it, and I have no way to be able to mess with the Green Witch. Do have that Dark Alice in hand, which is, I think, the line we're going to take here to see if it draws us into a Black Witch, and see if we can maybe bait him to burn that extra will. He ultimately says, no, the Dark Alice is fine to resolve. That's fine. I'm not going to stop it. Dark Alice draws, discards an Athenia, draws, and then banishes the other Athenia. Now, Robert has a choice here. He can keep the Dolorious by banishing a stone, or he can lose the Dolorious. Ultimately, I think maybe banishing a stone is maybe better here for him, because of the fact that he'll get to call another stone next turn, but he does choose to get rid of the Dolorious. I think getting rid of the stone might have been better, because I clearly wasn't going to stop him from taking an extra turn, so he'd just be right back to where he was now. And then still have the Dolorious to be able to maybe make a push in, as opposed to right now, the T-Tor is just drawing him an extra card, so it's not really going to do much. And again, like I said, we haven't seen much draw power from his deck. So goes that extra turn. Oh, and forgot to draw the extra card that T-Tor generates. So that's a little bit of a misplay there. That's one of the big things about T-Tor is he gets to draw you an extra card whenever you're in your draw phase. So the question is, he's at 5 stones, so we're tied on stones essentially at this point. I think I maybe have, I have just one, maybe one more. Maybe I forgot to call stone. I might have 2 stones left because of Layla. Regardless, he has to deal with, what's on board here. He has to do, what is he going to do with this extra turn? The idea of the T-Tor deck out list was that once we start taking extra turns, we are going to keep taking extra turns until we deck out. We haven't seen that kind of draw power, that kind of engine out of Robert's list. So it's a matter of exactly what we're going to see come down here. Deus Ex enters the Game of Gods to kill the Fallen Angel, or the Witch of the Witch of the Fallen Kingdom. So now he can search. So future Deus Ex enters the Game of Gods can do both of their modes. Gets to keep the Lancelot there, which is really nice. Again, it's been a very helpful tool for him to get things off board back into the deck, as opposed to the graveyard where I could reanimate them. Does have a lot of open will into my 1 Moonshade, I think. Oh no, he has taken a second turn, so takes a second turn, and I've ranked 1 stone, so we should both be at 5 stones at this point. Down comes that mass-produced Knight, and this is one of the reasons why I think maybe losing the stone might have been better, because he'd be able to start pushing in pressure, especially since he has the Lancelot in hand. So like, play mass-produced Knight, crew it, go into attack. I try to block. He Lancelots the blocker out of the way, and then kills me. Might have been the better line. So another Knight of Nights coming down here, which if this resolves, I know for a fact I'm just absolutely hosed. So I let the Knight of Nights resolve, but then it creates a trigger it re-triggers the enter effect of T-Tor, so I still get to respond to that. And we did happen to draw into another Black Witch off of the Dark Alice, flash that in, cancel the other enter effect with the Green Witch, have another set of blockers. So unless there's a 4th Knight of Nights or a 3rd Knight of Nights here, which would be really, really devastating if it resolves, or if he has one, we're going to get to go into my next turn with a field full of guys, and potentially a tapped out Robert based on how he wants to do here, or at best just threatening Lancelot, which gives us quite a little bit of wiggle room to be able to outmaneuver it to push through for lethal. 2,500 damage is quite a lot, but we'll have to see exactly how it goes. Water Mage of m.ha comes into play here, gets him some more draw power, puts up another body. Call stone with Mikage. using 2 stones. I'm trying to think about the sequencing here of exactly how I want to do this. We're going to use the basic black stone to do Origin of the 7 Lands to reveal Adam Brawley. And the reason why we're doing Adam Brawley is because it's my favorite 5-color card. Just like random 5-color card to play. Because I can't do Final Stance because of the combo ban list. But Adam Brawley is a 5-color card so that we can will filter to get to the combination we need to be able to play 7 Deadly Sins, which lets us reanimate a target Darkness Resonator from our graveyard. And if you know from earlier, we had a Fallen Angel of Black Tears. Reason for this is this will clear the board, which will also remove his J ruler, which means Lancelot's not a problem, so we can try to push in for lethal this turn this way. So attempting to do -12 to the field. If he has a Keys' Call, that could stop it. Ultimately says no, that's fine. Clears the board, gets the J ruler off board, has that stat neg here, does get to draw a card off of the Water Mage. We get to go ahead and swing in though, so that's 4, that's 4, that's 4, and 2, so it's 14, taking him down to 11. Still haven't used Mikage's sacrifice effect, so we could if we wanted. Ultimately though, choosing to use the black-green, banishing the Green Witch with a pointy hat to reanimate Garion, which will get us that last little bit of damage. He's down to just 1 will. He can't cast 1-drops at this point in time, and he can't use Lancelot because he doesn't have a J ruler. And so Mikage Garion gets to swing in here for lethal. So that is the game. Hope you guys liked it. Hope you guys liked seeing the fun idea of Wanderer, new and old cards kind of interacting with each other. Some recent, some not so recent. Deck profile for the Stone Hate Mikage will be up later this week, along with more Wanderer content moving forward. Got some really fun lists lined up. But until next time, this is DMO73 saying class dismissed.